everyone. So this is my assignment for this week. I will just go over the code first and then I will run it. So for number one, create an array. And this is the name and this is the content. I have printed everything out to the console, and I also added some like additional text so I could know what, whoever runs it can know what's what. Um, so here, for the subtraction, this is the last element of the array, and I find that out by subtracting 1 from the length. Since there's 0 index, so that would be the last the the index of the last element minus the first element, which is obviously index 0. Here I added a new age to the end of the array and then repeated the same operation. And then here is my for loop. I use constant age of ages and added everything to my age sum. Then I'm sorry, I'm kind of sick, so and I printed. So when I printed, I calculated the average directly on the print statement, because this is a sum, and then here I just divided it by the length of the array. And then here's my names array, which I printed again. And here's my loop where I loop over the array and calculated the length of each one. And then again, I calculated, I directly did the division for the average on the print statement. Then here's my other loop to concatenate all the names together. So again, I used a for loop and I just added the start concatenating the names. And if the I, so like the index, is less than the last index of my array, then it's gonna add a space. Then I printed it, and then I explained how to access the last name of an array, which I also did above. And then the first element, which is index 0. And then here create the new array with name lengths. And I just added, so I looped over the names array and I just added the length. And then I print my array. Then the for loop to calculate the sum of all of them. So I created a variable to store the sum. And then here's my loop, which goes through each element and adds it to the total length each time around, and I print it. Here's where the functions start. And I used my arrow function, and here's my word and arguments. Here I added 2 variables, an index 1 and like where I would be concatenating the word. So while I is less than n number, it just keeps concatenating the word, and then it just returns the string. And yeah, so the other function I wrote, it takes the 2 parameters and returns a full name. I did it in like a 1-line function. Here's my first name and last name, and then it adds a space here. And here's my test. Then and then here's my function that takes an array of numbers and checks if the sum of all the numbers in the array is greater than 100. So here's my variable where I'm storing the sum. Here's my for loop that will add each number in the array to the sum, to a total sum, and then it returns the boolean if the sum is greater than 100. And here's the print statements. Here's my function that takes an array and returns the average of all the elements in the array. So again, here's my sum, my variable for storing the sum. Then here's my for loop that goes through my num array argument, and it just each time around it'll add each number in the array to the total, and then it'll return my total divided by the length of the array, the num array that was provided as an argument. So I created this array just to test it. Then this is my other function that takes two arrays and returns true if the average of the elements in the first array is greater. So I used a one line arrow function, and I actually used my previous function in this one to do the comparison. And here I print everything to test it. And then final function will buy drink. Again, I did it in only one line. Here is the Boolean that's provided, and then the money in pocket. And I just simply did a comparison. Is hot outside and money in pocket greater than 1050? And then it'll return true or false. And then here are my tests. So I will do a new terminal, and here it runs, and as you can see, it prints my ages array that I created. Here's the difference. Then after I added a new element, there's a new difference. Here's my array with names, the average letters, concatenated names. And then here's my last element. Here's my first element. There's my array with a name length, which it correlates. The sum of all elements in the array. Then this is when I use my concat words function, where it concatenated Promineo 7 times. And then my full name function, I did this and it returns this, so it works. Then here with the is array, it should return false, it returns false. Here it should return true, it returns true. This is my average, and here again, this should return false when it compares two arrays. It does. When I flip them, it should return true, and it returns true. And my final function, if I have $20 in my pocket and it's hot outside, true, then I do buy my drink. If I have $20 and it's not hot outside, then it's false, I don't buy a drink. If I have $3 and it's hot outside, it's false, I can't buy a drink. And if I have $3 in my pocket and it's not hot outside, false, I don't buy a drink. So that's all. Thank you.